particular model is the smallest case that we have on display here today. As you can see in the front here, it's got quite a bit of mesh paneling in the front, which allows plenty of airflow to come in through the case and then exit out the rear. The top has an actual magnetic dust filter. On the back side of this case, you actually have about an inch worth of space between the back panel here, where the motherboard will actually sit on the opposite side here, and the actual door closing. The 2.5-inch SSDs will actually mount right here on the back of where the actual back side of the motherboard is, and the back panel here comes right off as well. So there it is. You can actually mount the SSDs to this before you put it inside of the computer, and then slide it right into place where it's supposed to go. Now, it does support a full-size ATX motherboard, which will mount right in there. It does support 3 120mm fans in the front here. It comes with one 120mm pure ring 2 fan, and then it also comes with 2 pure wing 140mm fans. Just like that. And now there is an LED strip that goes in the front here. These will actually light up RGB. And you don't have to worry about the cable getting all ripped off or anything like that when you pull the front panel off, because it's actually, it uses a contact connection here on the front side of the case. The dust filter, again, just pops right off, partially magnetic, and there's the whole front half of your case. On the back side here, it actually has 4 screws for the power supply, which is kind of cool. So what you can do is you can actually bracket this to your power supply here, screw that in, that's all set and squared away, and then basically all you do is you slide the power supply right on in. Pretty neat for a sub-$100 case. So the next case that we have here is actually the Be Quiet Silent Base 802. The case itself is available in black as well as white. The front panel is just a lift from the bottom here, and it slides right in. That's pretty neat. The top, which actually has like a top cover here, but is completely mesh on the top, is completely removable. So say you don't necessarily like the way that the top is sitting, and you want to get rid of these plastic pieces that are actually retaining a lot of the heat, you can actually use this awesome dust filter that magnetically just pops right in there, as you can see, sits in there, sits flush, and you've completely changed the look and the airflow and the amount of airflow that's inside the computer. They also include a different front panel. And you have almost a brand new, a whole totally looking, it looks completely different. That's awesome. And the inside of the case looks actually pretty awesome as well. They include a power supply shroud all the way in there, and then it snaps right on in. Look at that, boom. That's it. These little inside guys actually have little notches on them. Let me pull this out and I'll show you. So they have little notches on them that'll allow you to adjust the height of the actual plastic piece that's inside here. It supports full-size ATX boards as well as the mini ATX and flex ATX and micro ATX. Let me spin it around here so you can see the back. The back side actually has quite a bit of cable management room. It looks like you got about the same amount of inch or so depth-wise before the door actually closes on it. You have a built-in fan controller, which is from them, which is actually powered by a switch that's on the top here. You also get 1, 2, 3 Pure Wing 140mm fans, which is pretty awesome. It has a similar bracket, just like the 500DX that has your SSD mounting, as well as an additional SSD mounting block, which is pretty dope. The dust filter for the front, which is really easy to get to, again, just by pulling, that comes right off. There's actually a little tab in the front here. You pull down on that, boom. The bottom, and there you go. There's your other dust filter. The Silent Base 802, this is the white version, and we got one more to take a look at. So last but not least, we have the Dark Base Pro 900. This particular model is the orange version. So this particular case can be oriented in a couple different ways, as well as set up to have the motherboard oriented in a different way and all sorts of different fun little ditties that you can do with this particular model. This door is actually just magnetically sealed in there with a little push. The front of the case has room for two 140mm fans. You can actually fit three. Very similar to the 802, you have dust filter material on the front here that is easily removable, easily cleaned. On top of that, you have a dust filter that pops out of the front here. You have USB 3, USB 3.1, which is the USB-C. You have a charging port, which is pretty cool. You have a button to control the lights that are actually inside of the case. On the top here, you'll notice that there's like this plate that's sitting here. If you have a wireless charging phone like mine, you can set it right on top of there and it'll actually do the wireless charge. In this little box that's inside here, that's actually the LED strips that come with the case. Power supply shroud is completely intact and does not come out without removing a bunch of different screws and whatnot. These little plastic pieces that are in the top, very similar to the 802, pop right out and can be pushed right back in. The power supply itself doesn't have one of those brackets like the other two cases, like the 802 or the 500DX here. It actually has a recessed part of it. So you don't actually see the power supply inside, really. It actually has this short little mini AC adapter cable that goes from the back side of the case to the front. Well, not the back side, it's from the back part here to your power supply. So I have the back panel free, the screws are now free, and the back panel basically just slides straight and then pops right off. And as you can see, it has sound dampening material throughout the whole thing, but the back panel here where it says be quiet does pop right off, so you can actually remove this, and theoretically, I'm pretty sure, that fits a 120mm fan, which it does. On the back here, that is a fan controller and will run off of the motherboard if you set it up with a female-to-female PWM connector. This is also going to be your RGB splitter as well, which on the bottom here are your two ports for the 12-volt RGB. And then there's also a RGB header, that's your 12-volt RGB, that'll allow you to connect it directly from here to your motherboard, if you have that slot. And basically what ends up happening is that there's like a slot basically for your power supply to fit in on the bottom here. It has the same type of clippy cable management brackets that the 802 has as well. And then it also, as you can see, all of these screws are actually put together with just a Phillips head screwdriver. Now if you want to orient it in a completely opposite direction and completely flip everything around, you can. In order to do any of that, all of the instructions are actually here inside of the back of the manual here, written in about 8 different languages. Between the 900, the 800, and the 500, or the 802 and the 500, they all serve their purpose, especially for what you're looking to do, depending on if you needed a little bit smaller, but yet a little bit more configurable, or if you just need it to be really small and compact. That works too. Now I always try to put together a build starting with the chassis, just because you don't really know what's going to fit until you pick something that's a box and has dimensions on it. Now each one of these cases are going to have all the dimensions, all of the fan sizes, how many things are going to fit in it, all listed on the Be Quiet website. If you need any sort of support or any sort of help, contact Den of Geek, contact Be Quiet, or contact Mod My Mods. We'd be more than happy to help you out on your build, your next build, or builds to come.